It's such a close-knit group. It's so much like family.
Why wouldn't you want to live here too? Come home to Ascension Living.
If I can have a smile on my face while sitting next to an accountant at tax time, you know he must be one heck of a guy, and he is. Eric Pelton is back on the show, CPA in town. Good to see you.
Thank you.
You don't make this intimidating at all, so I owe you one.
Well, thank you.
It's true, don't you think? For a lot of people, the idea of walking into your office, those papers shake a little bit. They're afraid they're going to really be nailed this time of year.
That's true, and they got to be comfortable when they're coming to their accountant. They can talk and open up and feel like they can communicate. Because if you can't connect, then it's time to just maybe move on to another account.
I really enjoyed our conversation the last time you were here because I didn't even have to pry you for this. It was just who you are, I think. Your philosophy of your job is trying to help people find some ways to save money. You're not going to break the law or anything, but you don't want people to miss out on an opportunity to save.
That's correct. You want to do, and I convey to the professionals that work with me, if they can put themselves into their shoes and ask questions. And I've had preparers that say, well, they didn't turn any charity in, and I say, well, did you ask? And so I make them go back and do a second run on a tax return.
So we're into the season now. I'm sure you've already had several people coming in and filing early. Is it a good year for returns?
Well, actually, people are being surprised because refunds are smaller. And the reason is because the COVID regulation has expired in 2021. And so people were getting additional earned income credit or stimulus checks, and they were getting child tax credits, and those things have expired, so they're finding their refunds are smaller now.
Do most of us, do you think, Eric, have enough tax taken out at work, or do people tend to have too many dependents and then that ends up hurting them in the end?
Well, some do that. Some try to thread the needle a bit too close, but a financial guru will tell somebody, try to get it as low as possible, the tax taken out, so that you can take the money and put it to work. Sometimes when I'm coaching a client, I ask them, do you like the forced savings? Because some people, they know themselves and they say, I'd like to go get a large refund. I'm going to claim zero so I can get a large refund, use it to pay for vacation, use it to pay for property taxes, or use it for something. Others say, I'd rather get the money during the year and then invest it and let it work that way. So it just depends on a person's philosophy.
It is a philosophy. I've heard it said too before that you should aim to break even.
Right.
Is that true?
That's true. And if you try to aim too low, you could end up owing. And one way to handle that is for them to earmark some savings and set it aside and say, okay, if I get surprised and I do owe, the money's sitting there ready to go. And if I don't owe it to the government, then that's my money and I don't even have to wait for a refund because there it is.
Suppose you do owe, and suppose you're not prepared.
Okay.
Do you owe that money all at one time, or does the government allow you to pay it like you would a credit card, or how do you do that?
Well, taxes are due on January 15. 90% of the taxes are supposed to be paid, and if they don't have 90% paid in, they could face a penalty. April 15 is the drop dead, or April 16, drop dead. You got to pay it in full by then. Yes.
Okay, so if you are a person who just works at a company and you get your W-2 and you own a house and your kids are in daycare and you come in.
Okay.
Once upon a time, they would have probably been looking to itemize. The standard deduction has gone up enough now. Are most people doing that anymore, or are they taking the standard?
Most are taking the standard, because the standard is so high, it's hard to reach past that threshold.
Okay.
Single people over 13,000, married people over 26,000. So they just take the standard.
There are always things, I guess, that you don't think about. I certainly would not. And then you sit down with an accountant, and like your people are trained, they begin to ask you questions. And you go, oh, I hadn't thought about that. So you sent me a note that something about cancellation of debt being taxable. What are you talking about exactly?
Well, those that are successful in negotiating a cancellation of debt on a credit card, they'll receive a 1099, and that they have to pay tax on income for that.
Okay, I think I'm being thick-headed here. So if you had a credit card with a balance of $5,000 and you got that somehow voided to not have to owe that money, is that what you're saying?
Or you settled for $1,000. and you owed 5 and you settled for 1,000, they send you a cancellation for the other 4,000, and you'll pay tax on that 4,000 unless you can meet a couple of thresholds, and there are ways to get out of paying tax on it.
Is it important to know those, like if that happens with somebody in your office, are they going to even know that? Like, I guess they'll get something then from the government or from that credit card company,
That's
right?
correct.
So if that's happened to you, maybe don't file too early, because what if you haven't received that yet?
That's true. Yeah, those that file, but we're reaching past that point. They've received those documents by the middle of February now.
Do you have a certain length of time if you do file a return in 2022? Let's say you filed your return then, and then you realize that you missed out on an opportunity. Can you amend your return?
You can. You have 3 years to amend a return for a refund.
Okay. Or in case you owe?
If you owe and you find out something, it's good to go ahead and file it and get it out of the way, even if it's before April 15.
Right. Okay, you said that there is 0 capital gain rate. What do you mean?
Well, most are not aware, but there is a 0 capital gain rate for those that have income. If you're single and you make $41,000, the capital gain rate, if you sold something, say you made an additional $30,000 or $40,000, your tax is 0. If you are married and your income is $82,000 and you sell something for a capital gain, the capital gain rate on that gain item is 0.
Is that to kind of protect people in selling homes and that type of thing,
Well,
primarily?
a one-time, just if they're making a gain and their income is quite low, then there's a 0 bracket. And then if their income goes up, then the capital gain could be 15%, and then if their income is higher, it's 20%.
Okay, so for that married couple making $82,000 or less, and let's say that they had some stock and they sold it.
Right.
Okay, and they cashed out. If they had purchased the stock for $5,000 and they sold it for $12,000, are they taxed on the $7,000, or they wouldn't be taxed on?
There'll be a zero on that 7.
If they made more than the 82, they're taxed only on the 7, only on the profit.
The 7 would then be taxed at 15%. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think conversations like this are very, very interesting, because you think all you're going to do is hand over your paperwork and say, okay, call me when it's ready, cross my fingers, but there's a lot that goes into it.
Oh, there is. And since it's Valentine's Day, we talk about people getting married for the first time and they've got to get their taxes done.
Yeah.
So we get them to come to our office and, he says, well, we went to her guy and I brought you to my guy or whatever. So we just talk to the young couples and just answer a lot of their questions, because this is newlyweds are kind of refreshing and neat to work with anyway.
Maybe marriage counselors should make sure that before they say I do, they have one tax season to work through together. That's very true. Now, you wanted a few seconds to share something at the end.
I did, yeah. It's in the world of never-ending passwords. The password today would be an I with an A, an M, a 2, a T, a 1, a I, and a capital L with an exclamation point, which is, I am married to the one I love. And a shout out to Melody and Hickson. Happy Valentine's Day.
That's the sweetest thing I ever saw. You had that all done by heart.
Oh, I've used the password. Are we off the air?
No, we're not off the air.
Oh, okay.
Don't use his password. Eric Pelton, CPA. I can't believe that's the cutest thing I've ever seen on TV. 4412 Brainerd Road. The phone number 622-3156. Also in Saudi Daisy. EJPelton.com. He is a CPA you will love. You are so fun.
Thank you.
Crystal is testing its new breakfast on real morning haters, like people who are late for work.
I'm running late. This sunrise is right on time.
Get the crispy chick biscuit and the sunriser with a fresh cracked egg from 6 to 11
What?
at Crystal.
Outdated brick homes need help, and no one knows brick homes like Refined Home Finishes, your local brick experts. Their crews use high-quality lime washes to create modern masterpieces that age beautifully and won't peel or flake. If you need the local brick experts to transform the outside of your